Shalom, Israel. Welcome to the conclusion of the tribe of Dan are the Moors. This is part 3. And in this last part, as always, we want to conclude with scripture. What saith thus the Lord? So, in part 2, was a lot of history that was given out. I think in some of that stuff, you're going to have to pause the video, go to some of the other links that's located on some of those pictures and read up on the history if that's your desire. In the second part, you'll understand some of the reasons why, you'll hear things like King James was black. You look at the monarchy in England, how black they were when they first started out, and how other black nations traveled up and down Europe as well as over here in the East. Out here in the West as well as the East. All parts you see blacks. And not all of them were Hamites. A lot of them have been Shemites. And, of course, we had our chance to rule the world and keep the commandments as every other Hamite and Japheth did too. But as we look at this, one of the things I want you to get, and this is not going to be a long conclusion, we'll see that America was founded in 1776. Australia founded in 1778. New Zealand founded February 6, 1840. China founded October 1st, 1949. And our last one, Israel, founded in May 14th, 1948. And to this day, you'll hear people claiming how they've regathered themselves. They say this is the Most High. Israel became a nation again. And this is prophecy from the Bible. Even though you can't find the scriptures will say that. The scriptures tell us that the Most High is the one that will regather us. And he will make us a nation again. But the truly thing I want you to look at, if the tribe of Dan are the Moors, what relevance and what importance does it really have with you? So we'll close out with that thought, but first we'll let the word speak. And the first scripture we're going to read we're going to break it down into two different sections. We're going to go to Ecclesiasticus 1. We're going to read first 12 verses. Then we're going to read 2 other scriptures and then close out with Ecclesiasticus. And it says, Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 1. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What profit hath a man of all his labor, which he taketh under the sun? One generation passes away, and another generation come, but the earth abideth forever. The sun also ariseth, and the sun goeth down, and hasteth to its place where he arose. The wind goeth toward the south, and turneth about unto the north. It whirleth about continually, and the wind returneth again, according to his circuits. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. Unto the place from whence the rivers come, thither they return again. All things are full of labor. Man cannot utter it. The eyes is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. The thing that have been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done, that shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It have been already of old time, which was before us. There is no remembrance of former things, neither shall be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after. So again, that's Ecclesiastes chapter 1. The most important thing that most people get out that is there's no new thing under the sun. We talk about the vanities of vanities. We look at all, again, different people. A lot of times we want to call them Israel. We call them the tribe of Judah. Them with their hand gestures, money signs. And what good is all those riches at this point in time? All that money they claiming they'll get, or the enticement of them getting that money. Those people selling out their souls, trying to get you to sell out your soul for some ill-gotten gain, or for you to break the commandments so you can go and believe a lie and say it's just acting, or it's just dancing, it's just sports. But in the meantime, in your life, you're not keeping the commandments. All those people, if we can look at the word that had those things, as we can see nowadays, what did it profit them? There's nothing new under the sun. But now we're going to go to Psalms 83. Psalms 83 is going to go on a little bit of the lesson of what we're talking about is Dan as the Moors, and what importance it should have in your thinking when anybody brings you history of this world that we live in. Psalms 83 verse 1. Keep now thou silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still. O God, for lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off of being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites, of the Moab, the Hagarnes, Gabal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Romans, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Ashur also is joined with them. They have holden the children of Lot. Selah. So we see here that all these nations have taken crafty counsel back in those days, as well as we can definitely see in our days. When I read the founding of America, Australia, New Zealand, China, Israel, we know people were already there. How can you find something that wasn't lost? How can you plant your flag and claim a land where people are already there unless you were the conquerors, not the founders? Unless you were giving oppression, unless you were bringing those under captivity. And again, that's where Israel will find themselves in the last days, in the land of their captivity. The last one we're going to look at is Obadiah. And Obadiah's only got one chapter. And again, we go this with the precept of understanding that there's nothing new under the sun. I think I'm going to pick it up about halfway of the chapter. All right, I'm going to pick up verse 9. Obadiah, it's only one chapter, verse 1. Well, verse 9. And thy mighty men of Teman shall be dismayed, to the end of every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee. Thou shalt be cut off forever. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day the strangers carried away the captives his forces, the foreigners enter into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem. Even thou was one of them. Be thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother in thy day that they became a stranger. Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither should thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. Thou shouldst not have entered into the gate of my people in that day of their calamity. Yea, thou should not have looked on their affliction in that day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substances in that day of their calamity. Neither should thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. Neither should thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in that day of distress. For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen, as thou hast done, and it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thy own head. And we're going to stop there. That we understand that in our land right now is the synagogue of Satan. There's the ones that are pretending to be Israel. They've taken our name, taken our land, taken everything that the Most High said is ours. But he also tells us that he'll regather us again and bring us home. He also tells us in the day of the Lord, they're going to get their judgment for what they did. You can see that same teaching in Joel chapter 2 and 3, Amos chapter 9, Zechariah 12. All these different books, all these different prophets will tell you once the righteous of Judah will return home, that the Father himself is the one who will bring us home. That the ones that have done this, that stood in our crosshairs, that have taken our name, that try to be confederate against us, wipe us out of history, will get their judgment and the wrath poured out from the Most High against them. These are things that the Most High has made a promise and will do. And that lesson that we learn is Dan is the Moors. I wanted you to understand, even if we could prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, 100% accuracy, that one of the tribes of Israel was in that nation of England, Portugal, Italy, Greenland, any of those places. It makes no bit of difference. The tribe of Dan, with their Levite brother, turned away from the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob a long time ago. But I want you to understand that every black person, man or woman, while we're in the land of our captivity, is not Judah. They are not Judah by birth. They're definitely not Judah by the Spirit. You have to learn to shake your dust off your feet And understand there's only one thing that is of importance. If you truly want to be the house of Israel, the house of Judah, is to keep our Father's commandments. And they are not burdensome, they are not grievous. Understand there's a simplicity to the law. That the Most High, the same way that he instructed Eve, just don't do this. You have an opportunity, if you're living today, is just keep the Father's commandments. To understand that every nation is confederate against you, that will hold you subjugated into your place. As we heard back in the day, know your place, boy. Nigga, you better know your place. To understand that is the ideal if you're going to the Far East, Middle East, Europe, or the Americas. That the only thing that will keep your wife safe is that she comes underneath the blood of the Christ. The only thing that will keep your children safe, if they'll come underneath the blood of the Christ, that they'll keep those commandments. That they'll recognize there's a Sabbath day, and that's a day of rest, and there they refrain from doing anything or being around any of the heathens. Not driving up and down their roads, not driving up to them cities. Every brother of their nation that's in the house of Israel, teaching where they belong. Taking care of the sheep. Feeding the flock. Knowing that we won't have anything to do with their holidays, their store festivals, their feast days. None of those things. As I said, we'll close out in the word. Back to Ecclesiasticus. Chapter 1, verse 12. Either preacher was a king over Jerusalem. Either preacher was a king over Israel and Jerusalem. And I gave my heart to seek and search out the wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven. This sore travaileth hath God given to the sons of man to be exercised therewith. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and the vexation of the spirit. That which is crooked cannot be made straight, and that which is waiting cannot be numbered. I commune with my own heart, saying, Lo, I am come to the great estate, and I have gotten more wisdom than all they have been before me in Jerusalem. Yea, my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. And I gave my heart to know wisdom, and to know madness and folly. I perceive that this is also is a vexation of the spirit. For in much wisdom is much grief. He that exerciseth knowledge is increased sorrow. One of the things that we must understand is that the word is sharper than any two-edged sword. That along this walk of keeping the commandments, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, wives, children at home, children far away, aunts and uncles may not keep these commandments. We may pray for them. We may keep teaching as the word is commanded, but not everybody is Judah. And if you are Judah, by birth, and you are Judah by the Spirit, You've decided to keep these commandments. Understand how special you are. You're the apple of the Creator's eye. On this planet today, there is nothing more important than you. Nothing. So take that as a joy and a comfort. That is, as things wax worse and worse, if you wake up every day trying to keep these commandments, that the Creator is coming back for you to say, well done, my faithful servant. So if we see people throwing up their gang signs, pledging to their other gods, but they look just like me and you, they may not be Judah. They may be of another tribe. They may be even a Shemite, but has made an allegiance to another God. Keep the commandments. Shalom, Israel.